Hey, glad you're here. The Mythological Institute is checking in on us to see how far we've come, and wow, we've already covered a bunch of powerful lessons. The universal truths we've discovered give us insight into ancient worlds, and also into that world within us, the world of our internal experiences and emotions. So, why are these lessons so important? Well, because they make us ask ourselves some pretty important questions. Questions about being human. Like, how much control do we have over our lives? What happens when we face choices or fate that we can't escape? How can love or compassion affect us? And perhaps the toughest one, what's truly worth sacrificing for? Today we'll explore the story of Wanjiru and the warrior from the Kikuyu people of Kenya, which will teach us another universal truth for completing the Codex. Welcome to Kenya, in East Africa, where the Kikuyu story of Wanjiru and the warrior originates. As no surprise, this story echoes conflicts and concerns that have come up in other cultures. Devastating hunger, difficult decisions, the force of love. But ultimately, today we have two main goals to focus on. We'll analyze the consequences of sacrifice in this story from beginning to end. Then we'll connect these outcomes to what we can understand about Kikuyu culture. First, let's check out who the Kikuyu people are, since their beliefs and values shape this story. Grab your guided notes and let's go! The Kikuyu are the largest ethnic group in Kenya today. They've long been known for their deep connection to the land and for their resilience and progress, especially in their fight for liberation from British colonial rule. They're made up of 9 clans, united by strong bonds of community and tradition. Their religion centers around Nai, known as the One Creator God, who they believe resides on Mount Kenya. The Kikuyu feel blessed by Nai with fertile soils and a temperate climate. Their society is rooted in agriculture, with farming as a central part of life. Another important Kikuyu belief is in the presence of ancestors, who they thought continued to protect and guide them after they had passed on. In ancient times, they performed rituals to honor their ancestors or ask for their aid. Okay, with this cultural context in mind, let's read the story of Wanjiru and the warrior. Highlight key evidence pointing to why the Kikuyu people must make a difficult choice and what happens as a result. For 3 scorching years, the Kikuyu people were without rain, and the earth was like stone. The villagers, fearing starvation, sought the wisdom of the medicine man in their desperation. He thought deeply for a while, and then solemnly spoke. Rain will only come if Wanjiru, cherished daughter of the land, is sacrificed. Wanjiru, known for her beauty and virtue, wept alongside her family, learning of her fate. On the appointed day, the villagers gathered, full of both sorrow and hope, and each man, young and old, brought a goat for her family as custom demanded. Okay, pause. The Kikuyu people are facing a terrible choice here, sacrificing Wanjiru for rain or facing starvation. How do you think the Kikuyu people feel about this decision? Do you think they really have a choice? On one hand, they're solemn and sorrowful. On the other, they're desperate and hopeful this will ensure they survive. Let's keep going. They formed a circle around her, watching as the soil began to claim her. First, her feet sank into the soil. I am lost, Wanjiru cried, but the villagers did nothing, presenting more goats to her family. As she dropped down to her waist, she called out again, My people have undone me! Her family, torn with grief, stepped back as more goats were offered to them. Wanjiru's voice grew faint as she was consumed to her neck. "Much rain will come," she whispered. And as she sank beneath the ground, the sky opened and rain poured down. The villagers fled, and the land drank each drop. Only one young warrior stayed behind, his heart heavy with guilt. Wow, the villagers made their choice, and Wanjiru has been fully consumed by the earth. Let's think about the immediate consequences of her sacrifice. How does it affect her, her loved ones, and the people of the village? Wanjiru's words show that even though she accepts what her sacrifice brings, she clearly feels scared, abandoned, and betrayed by her people and her family. It does bring the rain, and the people are saved, but I wonder if they feel as guilty as the young warrior that stays behind. For days the rain had come and come again, but a young warrior who had long loved Wanjiru could not forget her. He returned to where she had vanished and sank into the earth as she had. In the shadows beneath, he found her, weak, but her spirit flickering. "You have shown your willingness to stay," he told her, "but I will take you back." He carried her upon his back and rose with her to the world above. He took Wanjiru to his mother's house, where they fed her goat fat and clothed her in the animals' skins. She grew strong again. The warrior, protective, kept her hidden in the village, but in time her family and the villagers begged to see her and to be forgiven. Moved by their deep remorse, Wanjiru forgave them and implored the warrior to do the same. So the warrior paid her bride price, and they wed. Now that the myth has come to an end, let's think about the bigger picture. We've seen that the warrior successfully brings Wanjiru back from the depths of the earth. She forgives the villagers and even asks the warrior to forgive them too. We also know that the ancient Kikuyu strongly depended on agriculture, valued community, and sought the guidance of their ancestors. While animal sacrifices were part of their culture, human sacrifices were far more extreme and not a common practice. So, take a moment to think about the villagers and their remorse. How do you think this ending reflects Kikuyu culture? It seems like the Kikuyu would agree that, in times of great need, the survival of the many may require painful choices. They needed the rain. They heeded the medicine man, but their guilt shows the realization that the life of every individual is sacred, even in times of desperation. We're reminded of important Kikuyu values we talked about, like their vital dependence on agriculture and their drive toward progress. And if you notice that Wanjiru's forgiveness brings healing to the community, you're spot on. The union of Wanjiru and the warrior at the end symbolizes that. Forgiveness allows the people to go on, but they will never forget what happened. And what about us, as the audience? What universal lesson do you think we learned from this story? I'd say I definitely learned that true sacrifice comes with a cost. Whoa, nice work! We unlocked this codex page. You know, this myth really reminds me of others that we've read, especially one in particular. Can you guess which one? You'll compare this story to the myth of Orpheus and Eurydice in your lesson materials, and finish up with some online practice. Remember, stay legendary! Hey.